Hi friends. Well, I've worked my way up to the first journal from June 12th, and the Mayan day was 8 read. So this one has some awesome links. Please click over to the written journal to enjoy them. Well, at least some things haven't changed, such as I don't know what brought me here to the journal. And while following heart is reason enough for me, I know it doesn't suit many others, nor anyone centered in mind. So let's all drop down into heart for the best possible experience here together. In spite of having put up more journals lately, before the recent break, then in the months that went before, in spite of having put up more journals lately than in the months that went before, I now have about 13 or more ready to record, not counting those from 2008. I'm wondering if any of you have had or are having any sort of similar experiences. If you have, it would be fun to read about them in the comments. I don't know why the intensity of flow, aside from blockages to flow being cleared up, and that's just mind. So, maybe that's a part of what's happening. But I smell a mind trying to wiggle its way in, so I'll gently, lovingly escort it back out, since it's not needed where we're going. A heart has its own brain of sorts. Had you heard of that? I'll put a good link to at least Introduce It by SacredSarrah. This is the body's heart, of course. You won't catch the capital H heart producing neurotransmitters that way. Meanwhile, back down in the deep heart, let's just be from there, in there. Being now here is so easily accomplished once we find our way here. This is where we both get to observe from sufficient distance to see things with new clarity, and we get to be danced. Has that ever happened to you? If not, then it's bound to, and before long. It's a hard thing, you'll see. The old man is dying away from us. Some are more in resistance to it than others. It doesn't feel that good to any of us, resistance or not. Still, I've found that just allowing, just letting things and people be as and what they are, is the very best way to greet this stuff. Then too, the closer to heart we can stick, then the clearer our changes will be to us. Not saying we will understand them, don't get me wrong, just that we'll be better able to see, or should I say, sense them from here. And it's a guaranteed thing that you are changing. We all are. In this physical environment, what with all of its changes, it's not possible to remain the same as we once were. Not at all. A lot of the changing going on happens at very deep levels, but by being in heart, you're as close as you can be to that. Thus, your increased ability to see into or sense into such things. It's really cool. Now, frankly, I don't know when the understanding will come. The funny thing is, what I've discovered by surrendering the need to understand, letting go of that, is that we truly can live without it. Now, I'm not talking to mind. I don't know how to help you with that. Just be in heart. Surrendering the need to understand spiritual things, okay? If you've got a math test in front of you, you need to understand that. That's a well duh. But the journals are about spiritual things. Kind of, sort of. I hate trying to language this. It's really hard. So, I've discovered that we can truly live without understanding things. Now, that's frankly scary to mind. But then we don't slip over into mind all that much anymore, so that's fine. How are you on the understanding thing? Are you willing to let it go? If not, then perhaps to just loosen the death grip you have on it by a bit. Needing to understand things is very much evidence of mind. So, if you viewed it from heart perspective, it will be easy to see that it is not you at all who is bothered by not understanding. That would be mind. Now that's really deep. But all I can do is point the way. All I can do is say that this experience is waiting for you if you desire to have it. Yet there is a price, and the price is a certain letting go, a surrender of the felt need to understand things. It's truly a new way to face life. Heck, it helps turn it into what amounts to a whole new life when that need is let go. Plus, when the need to understand is not out there in first place in your life, then you can be more assured that you're functioning from a much deeper level. You're likely in heart, but even if not, then at least you're not stuck in left brain. And that's great, since left brain won't take anyone into awakening. It can understand things about it, it will think it understands, but it doesn't. Wrong tool for the job. Pretty simple, but only when seen with heart vision, I guess. To the mind, this one is just nuts. I feel some of you letting go of that need. Maybe even trying it out for the first time to see how it feels. And gotta tell you, that's really cool. We're getting more and more present, which means more and more responsive too. We're better at turning on a dime these days. Once we let a lot of this stuff go that's bound us up in knots all of our life, then we're a heck of a lot more free to respond. We're response-able. Neat word trick there. Response-able for responsible, but really they do connect. Those who are not responsible can be viewed as unable to respond as perhaps they might like to. And as we all once were, after all, we all started this trek from left brain, pretty much. There are always exceptions to everything, but not so many to this. One thing that tells us is that we have this deep well of understanding available to us. Everyone does. Maybe you're not used to looking at the self as being deeply understanding. Perhaps you'd like to try that one on, for I promise you that you have that inside, this deep, deep understanding. Once you touch into it, well, you'll never be the same again. It changes you. Once you see that, as they say, there, but for the grace of God, go I, well, it changes the whole storyline somehow. It makes things shift. You see yourself in others that much easier. From the left or analytical brain, we are farthest possible from this deep understanding. It's a long journey, but one that most of us enjoying these journals have already made, at least to some extent. You may not have taken that step off the cliff of recognizing in the self this deep well of understanding. but you can. Yeah, that depends on you, of course, if you're able to respond, response able. This understanding we can also approach from another angle, that being our other embodiments or lifetimes. Also, in those many piled upon many embodiments, we walked a mile in our brother's moccasins. We tried it their way, whatever that way was. So, we know a good deal about that, whatever that is. There are many ways into this deep well. One of them is actually just knowing about it. For some, that's all it will take, and splash, there they went. They took the dive off of the cliff. That's how response-able some of us are these days. Just look around you. You may recognize a lot of them using bodies much younger than your current one, but don't let that limit you, especially since we know all time is just now. So we can't let time limit us in any shape, form, or fashion. Well, unless we want to. Sometimes we do it just for the fun of feeling limited. That's something we can't experience upstairs in higher consciousness. So it's fun to try it out here in 3D. Yeah, I said fun. It's a shift we're making. We don't have to make ourselves over or go get anything we don't already have. Have you figured that one out yet? Did you know you are already quite perfect? That you are Source? I'll give you another lovely video link to support you in making that particular shift. So, do you see how we're just shifting into this awakening thing? Have you made that connection yet? Or do you still sense something lacking, something missing in self? There isn't. I'm here to share that with you. And if you're ready to hear it, then it will hit its mark, and you'll be free of that sense of unworthiness, unreadiness. We all carry certain energies of feeling unworthy, or we have. If you think you don't, I'd be suspicious of that thought. Always, too, let us remind the self that this conscious mind, the one that's convinced it knows so darn much, is but about 5% of the whole mind. And the whole mind is but about 1/billionth or less of who you really are. So, keep shifting. Shifting attitudes, ideas, angles of view. That's what most of this is about. We all already contain 100% of what's needed for this. And then some. We're actually already awakened. If we don't feel like we are, then we are still in process of hiding it from ourselves, just like we hid that we are Source. Seriously, if you'll open yourself to that and just go where it leads, you're in for a very big surprise. You are already awake. We've been fooled for a very long time about who and what we are. That's what it amounts to. This is also the amazing power of belief to create. To create the chains and seeming prison we have found the self in all these years and embodiments. But no more. The time for all that sort of experience is officially over. All that waits is for each one to make the same decision for the self, to be response-able, to ratify awakening as a thing that is already done. Now, it's done at a deeper level than is yet available to the outer mind. That's how the powers that were able to hide it from us. They managed in their various ways to hide us away from our deep center. Well, now sure, that was a mess when viewed from a certain angle. From other angles, though, it was and is no mess at all. For one thing, it's easily mendable. We just shift. We shift back into connection with the deep self, the higher self, with what I choose to call heart, capital H. From there, we connect with the source that we are. Yet, it requires the shedding of a lot of old programmed beliefs, and this isn't so comfortable. I think most of us can pretty easily see this at this point. We've gained enough breathing room by being down here in heart. That always increases the clarity of our vision, though I don't know how it works. Just stay out of mind, out of thought, long enough, and you'll experience it for yourself. And then maybe you'll come and tell me. I don't much care about the how and the why anymore. I was so surprised a while back to find they were expendable. They were ditchable. They just are not necessary. You could be perfectly happy without them. Now, the that of it, the isness of it, is enough. Just that it is. Not worrying about how and why. That's being now here. Just being. Do you see? It's quite a different way of life than the one lived from left brain. The whole orientation is different, as I bet you can at least sense, if not yet see. The whole feeling of life is deeply different. Oh, things tend to look much the same from your eyes when you look out. As they say, chop wood, carry water, or the regular daily chores still need to get done, awakened or not. Yet there's a whole different sense about it all. For one thing, there's a real joy in daily living, found mostly in the little things. So little, you'd not think of them at all while living in mind. Everything becomes somehow special. You won't even be killing little bugs anymore beyond a certain point. I have a nest of red wasps that has been building just outside my front door, up under the porch there. You know, they build the thing for the young to hatch from that has the look and shape of the honeycomb, if not the color. Well, often enough, I thought, I need to take that down. Once upon a time, years ago, I would have stood off with the can of wasp shot stuff that you can spray from 20 feet and let fly. Maybe feeling a bit guilty, but not much. Not anymore. Now, instead, what goes through my awareness is how never once have I been stung by them, and they build there every year. They don't try to come inside, though I use the door often. Then, too, there is something so very amazing. I sometimes stand and watch it in awe. There will be one of them just standing on the edge of the nest or whatever it is they've created so far, not doing anything at all, but buzzing its wings really fast. It will just stand there for the longest time, running its wings, I guess keeping the young cool in the heat. It's been in the 90s lately, around 33 or 35, pretty hot, so it makes sense. Still, just imagine that, if you will, the selfless service there, the cooperation, the sense of community. Now, how can I condemn that life to a painful chemical death? I'm not suggesting everyone adopt my ways or anything, and I'm not condemning anything that anybody does. the whole point is for everyone to follow their own heart, not someone else's. But if I might, I'd like to suggest that if we are going to eliminate bugs and creatures that are somehow in the way, that we do it more humanely. That's all. Like with the food chain, just be more humane. At night, these creatures can't fly. So if I was going to remove them, what I would do is what I did last time. I would use my little grab it tool that I use to reach things on high shelves. I would take a plastic bag out and take the nest down, carry it away in the bag, and gently spill it out somewhere at distance from the house. Self and now. Yourself and your now. Myself and my now. It's all we need to deal with, my dears, for the face of the entire planet to change. As we make our internal shifts like this, we'll see it reflected out there in the outer world. And even if that wasn't the case, it would still deserve to be done just to be humane. Like the petition I signed the other day, protesting the terrible damage done to the cetaceans, the whales and dolphins, by the U.S. Navy with their sonar supposed testing. The things we once did so unthinkingly back when we were the center and circumference of our whole world, well, they just won't wash anymore. We're waking up. We're beginning to see and feel the results of those things we used to do, and it doesn't feel or look so good. We're all becoming at least somewhat more response-able. Do you see? Before, we were trained and taught to act only for self-centered motives and results. Well, that worked for at least two reasons. One was that we had a much smaller sense of self, just the little I, and the other is it was made possible by corralling us into the left brain. No way would that have worked for them had we found our way into the right brain or into heart. No way. So this is the shift in every little thing you do, every move you make internally, every thought you think, every word you say makes a bigger difference than you're now able to tell. Our whole cosmos, being fractal and holographic, we're so closely joined up as to be one big whole, in spite of our seeming separation. We are not separate. It's just a seeming one which we're all beginning to see through at various points. So I'll encourage us all to enjoy the process. Life itself is found in the process, my friends, not in any ending or goal or solution. No such thing. It's only in the now here. If we're looking for it anywhere else, well then, we're lost, but just temporarily. It won't be long until we reach what some have mislabeled the 100th monkey effect. It's really that we're just all one. We're just the one. Now, I just noticed the root of the word encourage. The roots of the word encourage, and they're really cool. It has the word courage in there, and that one has the French word for heart in it, coeur, and age or age. One could call courage then the coming of age of the heart. So that makes the word encourage look even lovelier, to bring about or enhance the coming of age of the heart. So let us encourage one another each step of the way as we make our own track. Let us all be response-able in this way, by knowing that self and now is our business, and that whatever else is going on out there, or with this one or that one. That is not. I will give you a link to what Abraham Hicks has to say about trying to solve the ills of the world. I just love their sense of humor. I think you will too. Namaste.